All right, here we are. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Here we are, still doing things.
Still playing Bioshock. We are still swordplay. I am still Evie, and I'm healthier than you because I just ate a vegetable.
I'm Ronan, and I'm not. I just ate a bunch of garlic bread.
Which, I mean, I'm jealous of. I would love to eat garlic bread.
It was quite delicious. Like a 4-cheese garlic bread. Hell yeah.
That sounds tasty. No, I just ate a cheese and lettuce sandwich, some hummus. I got I went to the nursery yesterday and I got like a big bowl of like living like salad green plants.
Yeah.
And you just trim off the leaves as you need them for your salads. And if you're anything like me and you forget about the food you buy, what up, ADHD problems? And are tired of throwing away salad, it's a really great option because no one in my house will even eat any fucking vegetables that I buy, so I always end up, like, buying them, and then I'm the one who has to remember to eat them all, and I never do, so it ends up getting thrown away.
I barely know they exist.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it was a good option, to just be able to buy living vegetables, because then it's just like, oh, you don't eat it right away, it stays in the pot.
Yeah, then they, constantly can reproduce on its own. And
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it just stays here.
Yeah,
and
it just keeps regrowing.
Gets the help that it needs.
Yes. It's a really smart idea when it comes to selling, like, vegetables, like greens and stuff. When I was living in Finland, they actually have they don't have, like, just big heads of lettuce, that have been picked.
Yeah.
To buy in the grocery store. You buy actually a living lettuce plant. And you just keep snapping off the lettuce leaves as you need them, and then it grows back. Like, I was able to just grow it in my window. So, it's a pretty cool idea. But I know that grocery stores here and a lot of other places really think that just, like, big full bins of lettuce look really pretty. And it's like, well, it does, but, I mean, what are we focused on here? Making things look nice or making them be efficient? Don't answer that.
The answer is yes. The answer is always yes.
The big daddies always have a lot of money on them. It's always good to find one of those.
Well, you always wonder, I mean, then it makes you wonder, like, who's paying them all this money? Why would big daddies need that much money?
It seems that in Rapture, there was a lot of money to go around, so.
I suppose. But why does a big daddy need money?
I don't know.
Exactly.
You are asking the wrong person.
I don't feel like I am.
You feel like I should know why big daddies need money?
Yeah.
Maybe they're buying, health kits, ammo, that kind of stuff.
Oh, I can't take anymore.
You better start using your pistol ammo.
I mean, it seems like, just because their intelligence isn't very high, they're, they don't really know even the concept of money. Like, they don't really remember or understand the concept of money.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. Again, it's
just, you brought up the question, and then, therefore, I decided to make it worse for you.
You brought up the question of why big daddies need money. I just said that they always have a lot of money on them.
Well, yeah, you brought it up, and so, therefore, I had to ask the question. You're like, oh, big daddies always have a lot of money. Why? Why do they always have a lot of money?
Well, maybe, like, they collect money off of, like, splicers they've killed and such, and then return the money to Tenenbaum or somebody else who's controlling them.
Somebody else?
My assumption would be Tenenbaum, because since she was in charge of the Little Sisters, I think she was at least partially in charge of the big daddies, too.
I mean, that would be really depressing to, like, have to, like, look at these, like, big daddies who, like, come back with, like, pocket change, and they're just like, they're just like, oh, thanks,
they
Alpha
think
1112.
They think the shiny ones are worth more, so they mostly bring back coins.
Yes.
And they, like, throw the dollars in the trash because they're like, oh, it's paper, it's useless.
Paper bad.
Trash.
Just one of them would say, like, recycle.
No, they wouldn't recycle in a libertarian society. Actually, I don't know that for sure, but it seems to me that in a libertarian society such as the one Andrew Ryan and, by extension Rand were thinking of, no one gave a shit about anything that wasn't efficient.
I mean, efficiency kind of seems like it's out the window at this point, to be honest.
Everyone cares about what they want. I want this. Okay, well, the thing you want is, like, gonna destroy the planet. I don't care. I want it. How are you like this?
Because I choose to.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you're not asking me that?
I'm just, it's more of a rhetorical question for people in general who just only care about the things they want and don't give any thought to, what's going on for other people. But maybe that's just me being an empath or whatever. But it seems to me like that kind of mentality has been, excuse me, discouraged into, leading up to today's society. With Reagan and all his garbage.
Reagan smash.
Reagan smash. I'm just thinking of that Reagan meme I see all the time. It's just a picture of Reagan and it says, "Is pro-life, dies."
Damn.
This is a pro-choice channel. If you're not pro-choice, just don't follow, don't subscribe, go away.
Go away. I got a picture.
He looks like he's twerking.
Look at that ass.
That ass. Oh, the spider splicers. Yes, that's what they are. Those are the freaking worst.
Anti-personnel rounds. Of course they're vulnerable to anti-personnel rounds. They are meant to kill people.
Doesn't anti-personnel mean specifically, like, armored?
I mean, that would
like
be...
armored personnel?
Wouldn't that just be armor piercing? Or anti-armor?
Yeah. But, that... They could call them something different. Excuse me. I love how he's knocking on the door like someone's going to let him out.
Right?
Excuse me. Pardon me. If anybody who's ever worked in retail or food service... Anyone who's ever worked in, like, the service industry, especially if you work somewhere that deals with, like, customers on a day-to-day basis, people who knock on the door after closing need to be culled.
Absolute garbage.
Go away.
Just garbage people.
I used to work at a French bakery when I was a teenager, and I remember one time I was closing out the register. The restaurant had been closed. The bakery had been closed for, like, half an hour at least. And this woman could see that I had put all the chairs up, that I was closing out the register. I was cleaning, and clearly the lights were off. Clearly said we were closed. And she knocked on the door, and I was like, yes?
No.
And she's like, I just need a baguette. And I'm like, no, we're closed. I closed out the register already, and Albertsons was literally next door. Like, you don't need a fancy French baguette. Who? Try saying that 3 times fast. You don't need fancy French bread. Like, you don't need to make me open the store back up so that you can get a loaf of bread when the grocery store is right next door.
I need that bread right now.
I mean, of course it's not as good, but it's bread. What, you're probably getting it for your stupid kids at home who don't live different.
But I like bread.
No, I love bread, but... And, well, I don't think all bread is created equal. Most bread is pretty good.
Most bread is pretty good.
Yeah. I was talking with my mom recently, and she made a comment how, like, you just always loved your bread. I'm like, yeah, bread's awesome. Bread's delicious.
Yeah.
And it's never made me sick. A rip to anybody who's, celiac or gluten intolerant or whatever. But yeah, bread's awesome. It's just the best food.
It is truly excellent. Bread is... like I said, I just ate a bunch of garlic bread. And that's because bread is amazing.
Yes, bread is the best food. I just wish I could eat anything without, having my acid reflux flare up on me. I
mean, that's fair.
Like, I take a sip of water and my brain's like, I don't don't like that. I'm gonna make you feel miserable now. And I'm like, why would you do that?
'Cause I hate you.
Yeah. And, like, my doctors are so annoying because they're just like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't eat dairy. I'm like, why are you taking every food from me? They take every fucking food from me. And I tell them, I'm like, you tell me not to eat these things and I don't eat them and it doesn't help. So, like, what is the problem? They're like, oh, well, it must not be your diet. And then and then they ask, well, what do you eat? I'm like, well, I eat a lot of, like, cheese and bread. And they're like, oh, well, dairy's the problem. I'm like, no, it fucking isn't. Because I can eat cheese one day and be fine, and then the next week I can eat it, and it's like everything makes it worse. So, like, what do you want from me? I don't know what they want from me. I'm just yelling at my stomach now. What do you want from me?
What do you want?
What do you want? Ugh. It's tough. Don't get old, kids. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Half the time I have to lean away from this microphone to burp because I just have to burp constantly.
Burp.
Because my acid reflux.
I planned ahead.
You did. Good job.
I did it. I have to actually finish it.
That guy right there. And then left turn.
Backseat driving again.
And backseat hacking. I will admit I'm a pretty bad backseat driver. I try not to, but I can't help myself. I'm a control freak.
Yeah. Yes.
When you have anxiety, it's really hard not to be a control freak. Because, you just want things to be done right. Because if it's not done right, something bad might happen.
I mean,
and so,
true.
you watch other people do things, and, people are driving you somewhere, and you're like, you're not going to go the right way. And, you're not going to get me to work in time. And I'm the one who's going to get in trouble. Like, they're not going to care that my Uber driver took the doubly long way to work so that he could make more off of me. I freaking hated that back when I didn't have a car. I had to take Ubers pretty much everywhere because we live somewhere with a god-awful public transportation system.
Yeah.
I worked about at this time I worked about 3 miles away from where I lived, and I had to leave my house an hour and a half before my shift started in order to get to work on time.
I mean, that means absolutely nothing to me. When you said you used a distance of miles and then used a time frame as well. So, for most people who live in California, that doesn't correlate. It's like, it's like 5 minutes away from me, but I had to leave like an hour early.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that, where I worked was about, not 5 minutes, I would say it was 7 to 10 minutes away.
I was going to say, you want to try that again?
Yes, okay, so my work was like 7 to 10 minutes away just by regular car, but it took about an hour to an hour and a half to get there through public transportation.
There we go. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, it really makes more sense to anybody, but I tend to measure things in, distances and distance rather than time, because in California, you have no fucking idea how long it's going to take to get somewhere.
No.
When I first moved back here, we live in Southern California, but I lived in the mountains in Northern California for a little while. And, up there wasn't really, traffic, because it was a small town. So there would be traffic during, busy weekends where there were, a lot of tourists. But generally, 90% of the year, there wasn't any traffic to worry about. And I first moved back here, and, I had a job interview at this restaurant that was, with no traffic, about 20 minutes away. But I didn't anticipate there being, traffic on the way to this restaurant where I was interviewing. Between my work and the restaurant, there was so much traffic, and also the stoplights here are a big problem because traffic gets backed up at the. Oh wow, he's
just took a full bullet to the face.
That's a full action shot right there.
I got 2 in 1.
But yeah, I left 20 minutes early. I left, I was like, oh, I'm just going to give myself 20 minutes to get there. And I was 20 minutes late for this interview.
Yeah.
25 minutes late even, probably. I had been on the road for about 15 minutes and hadn't even gotten on the freeway yet.
Yep. Yeah, you make a full mistake. You live out in California. I mean, you judge it only by time of how far it is, but you actually have to, like, you consider traffic in that time judgment where you're like, oh, it should only be like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
But traffic you add on depending the time of day.
And that can't even be predicted anymore. There's traffic constantly.
Yeah.
Even during a Pan-African Congress, there's fucking traffic.
You just look at any of your map apps and you'd be like, traffic's bad.
Yeah.
If the color is red on this app, I'm gonna add at least 20 minutes to whatever number I have to say.
I mean, and even that's not that reliable, but I mean,
It's the best I got.
Yeah, that's the best you can do. I at least know better now that I've been living back here for a time. That if you check your map app before you go, you at least can have a general idea of when of whether or not there's going to be traffic. But there can be an accident between the time you leave your house and the time you get on the freeway that makes you 25 minutes late anyway.
I mean, yeah.
I hate. I just am full of hate. No, but I hate this car-centric, like, obsession of American society. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with, car manufacturers in the 1920s, like, lobbying against public transportation. Don't quote me on it. I have to research it better, but it's very stupid. And, I mean, with, how heavily invested our society is in when it comes to, like, what's going to make us the most money? It's not hard to believe that there's definitely a lobby for the vehicle industry now. If there's a lobby for the oil industry, there's absolutely one for the vehicle industry.
Well, there has to be, otherwise the vehicle industry doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
One cannot exist without the other.
Yeah.
Vehicle industry at the current standpoint cannot really exist until they fully invest in electric.
Yeah.
But until that point, it's just they can't go hand in hand. Like, they go hand in hand.
Yeah. One of my family members, I'm not gonna say who, but one of my family members posted some dumbass shit recently, when the blizzards were happening in Texas.
Oh.
And they posted, you might know who this is just by me telling you, but they posted a picture that said, like, it was a picture of a helicopter spraying hot water on the wind turbines in Texas because it's a libertarian, I say hellscape, they say it's the greatest place in the world, but because it's a libertarian hellscape, there was no regulation on winterizing the wind power plants. So the wind power froze over, and that's why so many people lost power, because the plants froze over. And the caption on this picture of the helicopter spraying hot water to melt the ice off of the wind turbines, it said, a fossil fuel powered vehicle spraying fossil fuel on, like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I think I remember this.
And someone commented and was just like, this doesn't make any sense. It's also hot water, like, not fossil fuel. Like, it was, on Facebook, so it was, like, flagged for, like, misinformation. And this person was like, well, I just hate how so many of my friends are all anti-oil, but they can't live without devices and cars. And it's like, yeah, like, you have to exist.
Yeah.
And it's hard. You can't exist without, like, stuff like a smartphone, a computer, that kind of stuff. It's a lot of unnecessary, like,
it's not even
hardship putting on yourself to avoid using anything that uses fossil fuel, when fossil fuel powers are, like, the majority of our electrical grids.
Yeah, I mean,
like, it's just myopic. It's like, the point is, like, finding an alternate energy source. Just, like, it's not just not using energy anymore. That's impossible.
Yeah, that's just kind of the sticky situation of it all is. Until full change is enacted where you can actually do something not fossil fuel completely, you have to use that until you've come up with the alternative, or you've, like, made it effective enough to work on a larger scale that you're designing to replace the other system for.
Yeah. And then, like, whatever we're going to replace it with, it might not be sustainable either. Like, lithium is a big thing that a lot of investors are talking about, but, you know, you have to mine lithium, and that, there's a whole issue of labor there because it's often mined in countries in the global south. So, and, mining can be dangerous, and there's a whole human rights issue around it. And is it even sustainable to, use lithium as a power source? We don't know. We haven't studied any of it long term. Well, with that being said, that's the end of this episode. So, thank y'all for watching. If you liked this video, please like, leave us a comment, subscribe. If you hated it, please dislike, leave us a comment, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we will see you next time. Love you. Bye.
No.